Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to another edition of Pre-Market Pulse Scan with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave price trigger reports, put right there in your hands daily, Sunday through Friday. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. It was quick as always. It's always a fast weekend, no matter what. Even if it's like a 3 or 4 day weekend, it still feels and seems like it's just not enough, man. But nevertheless, we take what we can get, right? And then we keep it moving, we keep it pushing. All right, so hopefully, for those of you that are avid listeners of the pre-market pulse scan reports, as well as the end of day reports. Because if you are, and if you were listening, you would have heard me say over and over and over again that you need to learn how to take profits when you see profits. Do you have any idea how important that is? Do you know how important it is to lock in your gains each and every day when you see gains? Have you any idea how painful it is to have a profitable trade, be up big in a trade, only to give it all back because you didn't feel the need to lock in profits, because you felt that you were smarter than the market? Oh, it's going to keep going up. It's fine to have those perspectives, but don't we live in reality? Don't we live in a world where anything and everything can happen? Weren't you told ahead of time that you're going into a weekend and situations are as such that you really don't want to be long equities going into a weekend? Because anything could happen, news could happen that could absolutely shatter your perspectives, can make you rethink your life decision and life choices. Well, that's what happened. I gave you those intraday price inflection points for a reason. I figured, hey, I throw the people a bone. Everyone's not subscribed to the PulseWave price trigger, so I will throw people a bone. I will let them know that they need to pay attention. Well, guess what? As I'm sitting here talking to you, Bitcoin is off thousands on the futures composite index. Don't take my word for it. Why don't you look and see for yourself? Let's take a look at these overnight markets and see what holds for today. Taking a look at your Dow futures, which is now down 262 points after being up, mind you, Sunday evening. Your NASDAQ 100 is down 71 points after being up this weekend. Even the S&P 500 trading below 29 now, down 31 3/4 points after being up Sunday night. Russell is now down 22.4 points after being up Sunday night. Bitcoin is now down 1,015 bucks after being up on Sunday. Oh, it was worse. It was much worse. The overnight lows was 85.45. Yeah, that's a real big punch in the gut. If you were long and you let this market do this to you without putting in stops, without locking in profit, here's your net gas up a nickel at $1.87. Crude oil up 27 cents, trading at $25.02 a barrel. Your long bond is down 11.30 seconds at 179.11, having a real tough time with that $1.80. Gold down $6.50, trading at $1,707.40 after slipping below 1,700, down to $1,695.20 an ounce. Your silver right now is down 18 cents, trading at $15.76. US dollar, what do you know about that? Back above par, trading at par 01. Here's your euro. Euro's off 12 pips at 108.38, kind of quiet. Here is your pound sterling, down 76 pips at 123.36. Your Aussie is down 41 pips at 64.86. CAD is up 59 at 139.83. Euro yen is up 63 pips at 116.29. Dollar yen up 77 pips at 107.40. And your food, looking at beans are up 6 at 8.56 half. Corn up 2 1/4 at 3.21 half. And wheat is down 3/4 at 5.22. It's up 3/4 at 5.22 3/4. So here, you can see the markets are all over the place, but it should be noted that the Bitcoin and the U.S. stock indexes at the open, at the onset on Sunday, were green. Straight up green. Green all over the screen. I got to tell you, man, it's times like these, it's days like these, where you would want to be in the know. That's right, you will want to be in the know. Well, now you know. If you didn't take profit in your Bitcoin, I don't know what to tell you. I was anticipating markets being down. I gave you the intraday price inflection points. I told you if the market was trading below them, that you could expect the door to be flung wide open for selling. And boy, was I right. So how the saying goes, sucks to be them. There are people waking up today long Bitcoin and are hurting and wondering what the heck happened. Well, it's a volatile market. I told you that. You don't trust weekends. You don't know what can happen. It'll probably slingshot its way back up. Who knows? But at this point, we trade what we see, not what we think, or not what we think we know. That's how we roll. You don't have a choice if you want to be smart and make money in the game, So that's how we roll on these days. Now, here is the news that you need to know about. Let's get into it. All right. 1, 2, 3. How about this? All right, here we go. Let's make this. Boom. All right. A fish farmer's stock price has skyrocketed more than 2,500% in a year, and nobody really knows why. International holdings company PJSC, an Abu Dhabi-based holding company, has brushed off the coronavirus pandemic and the oil price crash to grow its share price from below 1 dirham, which is 27 cents a year ago, to about 27 dirhams, which is $7.35 today. A day trader who bought hundreds of oil contracts was told he owed $9 million after a trading platform issue meant it failed to show oil's historic plunge below a zero. A day trader who bought hundreds of oil futures contracts during its historic price crash last month was told he owed $9 million after a technology issue prevented his trading platform from displaying negative oil prices, according to a report from Bloomberg. Well, first of all, let's dissect this story here. It's not saying who the day trader was. It's not even telling you what platform it was. It's just throwing it out there that, hey, there's a trader who lost a lot of money trading in these markets, he got gangstered because he didn't realize he was trading the most gangster market on the planet. But see, this is why you have to watch, you know, who you're trading with. You gotta know the not just the platform, but you gotta know who they clear through. And at the end of the day, you can't blame the market, because let me explain to you what's going on here. All right, so when you pull up your trade ticket, you're looking at all that. It's saying that it didn't show the historical prices. I don't know if there's any truth to that, because if you're most places out there, especially Thinkorswim, I showed you guys how I do it. I go into the block that brings up all the current futures contracts. You can pull it up either the current front month, or the last, or the 3 months, or you can go all, and it will show you all of the available contracts that you can trade, and it'll let you know where the prices are. The historical price has nothing to do with your price. Has nothing to do with what you're doing. You don't need historical prices if you decided to go long or short. Historical prices just tell you where the market's been, but that's not necessarily helpful. Sorry, I have very little sympathy for people who trade futures and get their faces ripped off. Anything short of fraud or embezzlement on the company side, I don't have a lot of sympathy for the traders who trade futures. If you trade futures, you're supposed to know a lot of things more than what a stock trader would know, or even a forex trader. You got to know that you're trading a futures contract. You got 90% leverage in some cases. You got contract rollovers. You got to always check and see how many days are left on the contract that you're trading. It's a lot of stuff involved, man. You don't just put a trade on. You better make sure you're trading the right month and all that good stuff. Plus, he was buying. What does he care what the historical low was? In his mind, he decided to buy. So why do you owe $9 million unless you bought all these contracts and you didn't have a stop in? Plus, the article is a little misleading also, because it says a day trader. That's all it said. And then it said hundreds of oil futures contracts. Hundreds? That ain't no day trader. That ain't no regular person. If you can afford hundreds, it didn't even say how many hundreds. If you can afford to put on 100 lot, just 100 lots of oil, are you kidding me? Do you know how much money that is? Do you know how much margin you have to have? As a matter of fact, the broker probably should have hit them with some span margin because of the risk. When a trader is trading futures, he's not only putting his own money at risk, he's also putting the firm's money at risk. Every time I hit buy or sell on the Thinkorswim platform, I'm putting them at risk along with myself if I'm trading those kind of leverage instruments. Because if the market moves against you and you don't have a stop in, yeah, you're going to go on margin call. But under this situation, it sounds more like failure to supervise at the brokerage end, because you're saying that you missed it. Some big whale put on hundreds of contracts, hundreds. It didn't say 100, it said hundreds. Far as we know, it could have been close to 1,000 contracts. Dude, do you know how insane that is? Do you know how insane that is? $9 million is just unbelievable, isn't it? But it's not all that impossible, especially if you trade the big contract, which is $10 a penny. That's right, it's $10 for every penny that crude oil moves. And now you're multiplying that exponentially up to hundreds of contracts. So you're basically trading $1 million a penny. For every penny the market moves, you make or lose $1 million. Really? You got it like that? All right, player. That right there is gambling. That's not trading. Yeah, you can day trade oil, but it's not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be. It will have, if it moves, it'll move gradually, not just all at once. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different market today because of the algorithms. This person was basically gambling and they got stung. $9 million deficit is a lot of money. It sounds like he has that kind of money, so it's not a big deal. Why they would report that as news is beyond me. People lose money every day in these markets. So that really isn't a lot as opposed to trading hundreds. If you're trading hundreds of contracts on any commodity futures contract, you have to be a multimillionaire or a billionaire basically, because that's a lot of freaking money. And we're talking about crude oil. You know what the max contract size is, unless they've changed it? The max contract size on crude oil is 5,000 contracts. Yep, no one can trade more than 5,000 contracts at any given time because they have systems in place to not allow someone to try to corner a market like the Hunt brothers did with silver back in the day. So yeah, this I don't have any sympathy for them on that one. Why would you be with a broker that can't even get their prices right? Now, yeah, systems can break down. You can have errors, but again, that's the risk you're taking when you're trading like that. Everyone knows you got to put a stop in. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Warren Buffett and you decide, I'm going to day trade the Dow today. I'm going to use Dow futures. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that, but you still need to have a stop. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. You're just asking for trouble when you trade futures and forex without a stop. It's like people don't understand the history of the markets. You never looked up at the history of the markets. You never looked at what is the lowest point a market has ever been. You're gonna tell me he didn't know about the negative oil prices? It was all over the news. How did you not know? Oh, he knew. That's why he took the bet. And now you're trying to say he didn't know. It doesn't work that way. You can't say you don't know something when you're trading futures. I didn't understand the risks. That's a lie. I didn't know that the prices went negative. That is also a lie. I don't know a trader worth his salt that doesn't have his TV set or some type of you know telephonic device tuned in to Bloomberg or CNBC or Fox Business, some type of business channel. Because how else are you going to know when there's breaking news if you're trading blind? Sorry, that is trading 101. If you're trading the way he's trading, sorry, he's not some little piker, some little retail dude, not trading hundreds of crude oil futures contracts. That makes him a sophisticated investor. That makes him a professional trader. If you're trading on that size, you're a professional. So to say you didn't know is a lie. It was plastered all over the media, mainstream media, alternative media, email. You should have got spammed email or something, letting him know what was going on, because that was a historic event. People who were not even traders or investors of any type even heard about that. The average man on the street knew the crude oil went negative because it was all over the news, dude. Nobody trying to hear that. Stop it. Anyway, got to do your due diligence, folks, if you're going to get into these markets. Got to know what's up. Got to know what your risk of ruin is in any market. Who would just go into a market blind? I'm going to trade 1 billion shares of Apple today. Why not? Fool, don't you know they got earnings today right after the bell? Huh? I didn't know. Oh no, I'm down $9 million. Let me call my broker and tell him I didn't know that they were going to report earnings today. That's not their problem. That's your problem. Why are you going to jump in something without doing your homework? What true story? And I'll end it on this. When I first started working, doing my Wall Street gig, one of the first phone calls I ever got was a guy who wanted to know the historical prices for wheat. When I say historical prices, I don't mean for the last week or a couple of weeks. I don't mean for the last year. I don't mean for the last 5 years. He wanted to know what is the all-time low for wheat. He said all time. When a person uses that key phrase all time, they mean since the history of the beginning of that particular market. So if it was wheat, if it was Apple Computer, Facebook, doesn't matter. He was saying, what is the all-time low for this particular instrument? And then after I gave him that information, he wanted to know what is the all-time high for this instrument. Then he asked for another instrument, didn't have data on that one. I think because that was the Winnipeg Exchange, and I was like, yeah, I don't have access to that side of the country. He was like, okay, thank you very much. He was not going to lift a finger and operate in the market until he had those answers. You be like, who cares what the all-time highs and lows are? Well, that's not for you to be concerned about. I told you people have their different approaches to trading and investing. All right. Some people throw darts at a wall, literally. All right. So it doesn't matter what he wanted and needed it for. He just knew he wasn't going to make a move until he knew and had those questions answered. I used to get questions like that all the time. All the time. And sometimes they have a list. They have like 5 different things they want to know technical information on, and you had to give it to them. You had to know because that was part of your job. So yeah, whatever. Goldman Sachs says global oil demand will bounce back, but could be hit hard by the lack of business travel. Goldman Sachs is predicting a V-shaped bounce back in oil demand, but expects the fuel to face a beating from a loss in business travel. Wait a minute, I gotta go back again. How is he able to trade a couple of hundred contracts when I know for a fact Thinkorswim has already put out the notices you cannot trade the front month or the following front month of oil contract. We can't trade June and July right now. So come again, Selecta. How is he able to do that? And not just trade the market, but trade hundreds of contracts. Something still don't add up there. It don't sound right. Marriott quarterly profit dives 92% on decline in bookings. Marriott International Inc. on Monday reported a 92% slump in profit for the first quarter as bookings plunged due to coronavirus-led travel restrictions. Oh, somebody actually is writing correctly? They said due to coronavirus-led travel restrictions. Didn't say due to coronavirus. It said due to the travel restrictions. Now that is being a lot more honest. All right. BA owner says burning cash, excuse me, quarantine plan will make it worse. British Airways owner IAG has exhausted every avenue to shore up its finances and is burning through cash. Its CEO on Monday said that the aviation industry warned of the fresh damage it would suffer if Britain quarantines international arrivals. Tesla made good on Elon Musk's threats and sued a California county over the closure of its factory. Tesla has filed a lawsuit against Alameda County in California, where Tesla's Fremont factory is based. California is having a lot of issues right now. A lot of different counties in California are going through it. ECB sees no business case for digital currency yet. The European Central Bank currently sees no business case for launching its own digital currency, but is looking at how one would work should that change. The ECB board member Yves Mersch said on Monday, stocks are mixed in Asia. Hong Kong's Hang Seng rose 1.21%. The Nikkei 225 rose 1.29%. China's Shanghai Composite rose 0.83%. In Europe, the Euro Stoxx 50 fell 0.71%. Germany's DAX fell 0.60%. And the FTSE 100 fell 0.34%. In the U.S. futures underlining the Dow Jones and the S&P and the NASDAQ, they fell 0.54 and 0.31% as of 7:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. First quarter earnings coming in. Uber and Audi are highlights. Economic data released today is the USA's 3-month bill and 6-month bill auctions. Yeah, I was trying to find a little bit more on that one story, and I am unable to do so. So nothing more on that one. All right, we got a busy week ahead of us. Not because there's a whole bunch going on per se, but because we still got class. All right. Now I did promise you we were going to get into a lot of stuff. We made a lot of headway last week, and we're going to continue that. Now the opening bell did go off for those that may have missed that, or if you're checking for that, it just went off while I was talking. So the markets are now officially opened. I think today it's probably going to be more of a quiet day. I could be wrong. It's just looking that way. Put it that way. It's looking like that right now. So we'll keep tracking and see what's cracking. Yeah, man, these markets are looking interesting. I did not get a chance to incorporate the pimperation for you. I do apologize. Had some technical issues I was trying to work out. So Lord willing, you'll have that on the forex for today. The end of day today, you'll have that for tonight going into tomorrow's trade. Had to finish getting some stuff in order. Now that I got it, I think we're good to go moving forward. Also, this should be a good week for you guys in the markets with the with the trading because of the updates that I have installed. Nothing crazy, nothing new, just some updates I did. I added a few filters. So not only will it continue to keep you out of bad trades, but it'll keep you hopefully on the right side of the market as well. So you're able to avoid getting hurt. So that's what I've been working on, just so you know. One other thing here, let me see. There's one other thing I wanted to talk to you about before we get more into class. All right, let's see. Coming into today, it's interesting because we had sell biases for the Russell. We had long bias for the NASDAQ, and then we had sell bias for the S&P. So Russell S&P sell bias, NASDAQ and Bitcoin and the Dow all had long biases. So I thought that was interesting coming to today, because if you look at how the markets have behaved thus far, Bitcoin futures never even got near intraday price inflection point. Instead, sold off heavy. And looking at the Dow got nasty too, but it's all right though. That's the weird part. If you look at everything, it's looking like it's all right. Looking at the S&P though, S&P, it did break the overnight price inflection point. It broke that only to bounce back. So it's kind of weird the way it's behaving. But it's still well off its support. So is the Dow. So is the NASDAQ. So technically speaking, looking at what I'm looking at right now, it's looking like any pullback we see in the market today will probably be short-lived, and we could bounce technically as of tomorrow. Just looking at the way things are structured, just looking at specifically overnight trading. Yeah, because the stock indexes are not uniform, they're mixed. Like for instance, the Dow coming into today, it's still in a correction off the bear market low. And taking a look at the S&P is showing that it is more bullish. It's more locked in bullish. NASDAQ also showing locked in bullish. And the Russell is showing the bear market corrections. So Russell and Dow being the weakest are showing bear market corrections. That's why we had the rally off of the lows. But the S&P and the NASDAQ are showing bullish markets. So it's too mixed for us to have any major moves, in my opinion, in the U.S. stock indexes. I think once they come into alignment and start moving in the same direction with the same trend results, I think that's where we're going to see the big moves. And I still think that they are on the horizon. Even if we don't technically kick that stuff off today, I think it is 100% on the horizon, and we would do well to prepare for it. Just saying. All right. Okay, class, if you need to get yourself a cup of coffee, you're probably going to want to go ahead and do that, because now we're getting into some heavy topics. We need to deal with some things. I did promise you that we were going to continue until I got all my stuff off my chest. So get your coffee, get yourself together, because we need to talk about some stuff. All right. I think we're going to begin. Wait a minute. Let me get into something real quick. We're going to go there. I promise you. We're going to go there. All right. My man put me on to something. He put me on something. So I'm going to pull it up. And then you guys can let me know what you think about it. All right. Just give me a second. All right. I think you should also know that I did start watching. I did download Plandemic, and I downloaded Vaxxed. Finally got my hands on Vaxxed, so I'll be watching that. I have started watching Plandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, I had told you that I've been gathering information since this coronavirus thing came out. I've been downloading articles, downloading news clippings and videos, and just everything I can get my hands on. And lately, I've come across some of the most wildest things I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to research all this stuff. Man, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. If you guys have not seen Plandemic, I know why now. They have scrubbed this joint off of social media for real. You will not find it on YouTube. YouTube is up to it again. You know what they've done? There are these two dudes, never heard of them before. Someone gave me the link or whatever, and they got like an hour and 45-minute video, and they kind of titled it like it was Plandemic, but it's not. It's these two dudes debunking the Plandemic documentary. And I must say, they sounded absolutely absurd and ridiculous. I mean, you could see that they were really trying, but they sounded absolutely absurd and ridiculous. They didn't deal with anything that the movie goes into. You're just listening to these dudes, young dudes at that, talk like they are so much holier than thou and all-knowing, while not addressing the key issues in the documentary. I will not spoil it for you guys if you haven't seen it. Anyone who is a PulseWave member, I dropped the links in the chat room. Okay, so if you go to the trading room, it's in there. I put the links under the alerts tab. I put the link so you can watch Vaxxed and or download it, and you can watch the Plandemic and or download it. I'm only halfway through it, the Plandemic. I'm gonna watch Vax afterwards, dude. I'm blown. I am blown away. Absolutely, I see why they wanted it off the internet. If I were them, I would have banned it off the internet too. It's analogous to someone showing your wife video footage of you sleeping with another woman, and there's audio and video of it, taken from all different angles and perspectives. You had like 100 video cameras in the room. Exactly. It's very hard to debunk that. And then a picture of your wallet and your car keys comes up. All right. All these things have been taking video and footage of. And then while the video is rolling, all the text messages between the two of you is being shown on the screen. Other screenshots of y'all different places together, just a whole bunch of just everything about it, to the point where there's no way in the world you can talk your way out of it. Well, that's what Plandemic is. Plandemic is basically a straight up pap smear live on video for the world to see. Colonoscopy live on video for the. I mean, it's probably the best documentary I've seen since the 9/11 documentaries. That's how well put together this thing is. There's nowhere in the world that anyone can debunk any of it. It's live footage, not a picture, so people can claim, oh, that's Photoshop. No, live video footage, listening and watching people expose themselves. Look, man, I'm going to say this last part about that, and then I'm going to move on. Your boy William is probably one of the most evilest dudes I've ever seen on the planet. All right? When I say William, you guys know who I'm talking about. All of a sudden, he's an expert. All of a sudden, overnight, he is a epidemiologist. All right? A virologist, epidemiologist. He has no medical degree of any kind, but yet the media still puts him up as if he is some type of scientific mastermind. William is an evil dude, man. Seriously, I didn't realize it. I did not realize it. But William is straight up a straight up lunatic. So that's all I got to say on that. If you are a member of PulseWave Trading, just go to alerts tab, and you'll see it. I put both links there. I think I did it yesterday, so you can actually watch those and see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. It is absolutely mind-blowing what I have watched, and I'll be watching the rest of it this evening with my wife and my oldest daughter. We're gonna watch both of them joints, and then I'll let you know some more. I will say this. I mean, it had parts in it where I'm not gonna say what made me want to cry, but it did make me want to reach through my screen and just punch dude right in the face, like for real. I couldn't believe what I was saying. Everything that I have been talking about since I was on the air with the late, great Charlie McGrath at Wide Awake News, everything he and I talked about back then, we have now been proven right. Everything I talked about, even some of the things that Frank and I talked about live together, is coming to pass. It was proven right. It was proven 100% right. And you'll see what I mean when you get in there. If you've watched my documentary, There Is No Collapse, and the Fed versus the blockchain, central banks versus the cryptocurrencies, if you've seen both of those documentaries, everything I talked about is in there. Straight up. So, yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on. I told you we'd be in the beginning. We were dealing with a lot of COVID stuff and whatever. Excuse me. But now I told you we were going to focus on some economic and specifically market stuff. I believe in covering everything that has to do with the markets, even if it's difficult to talk about, even though it may frighten some people. But I need you guys to hear me up and hear me up good. I don't know how much time we got left. The country that we live in is falling. Olympus has fallen. Okay. You need to, if you haven't already done so, you got to get your brokerage accounts open today. You got to get them things open today. You got to get ready to start trading today. Seriously. It's going to be for some of you, it may be the difference between life and death. I'm not scaremongering, fear mongering. I'm telling you facts. I'm telling you what it is. What it is, folks. Remember the dream I told you I had years ago? And we walked I walked into the grocery store and it was like no one in it. And I looked like to my left or right, and I saw maybe less than 10 people standing with me. We were like in a group, and we were waiting for one of the managers to come out because there was nothing on the shelves. And they were waiting for a truck to come in, and a truck did come in. And because we were the first like couple of people there, they let us in there. And when they pulled the pallet off of the truck, it was almost virtually an empty pallet. It was nothing to pull off. The pallet was so small, it was like, you guys can just get on the truck and whatever, and just take what you want. And there was really no food there. It was not non-food stuff. And it was like, okay, well, and then the bakery person came and was like, well, we didn't get any new supplies to make any more bakery goods, but we got this old stuff that we were going to throw out, and all of you can just come and have and take it for free. Take some of the bread and bagels, cupcakes, whatever it is, muffins. Just distribute it among yourselves. Take what you can. I'm sorry, that's all we got today. I saw that in a dream some years ago. Well, I'm here to tell you that unfortunately that too is coming to pass. I had some hunches. You guys know I do research, okay? For those that don't know, one of my first jobs out of high school was a research job. I got paid to do research, all right? I was being paid to do research. I researched things, and I became very good at it. And this was pre-internet. There was no internet. All right. Couldn't just go Google something. No one knew what a Google was or a Yahoo. None of that. Wasn't out. Didn't exist. You still had to you had to physically get your butt off of your chair. All right. And depending on your proximity to the location, you had to either walk, catch a bus, catch a cab, or drive, or ride a bicycle to the closest library. And then you had to go in there, and you had to go by your whole Dewey Decimal System, and you had to get in there, and you had to look at microfiche and go to the research section of the library where they have the reference material that cannot be taken out of the library, can never be checked out. It has to be looked at there. There were no smartphones. We could just take pictures of pages. Didn't exist. You had to take notes by hand if you wanted to. Yeah, it was that serious. But now we have internet, and it's really fast. But they've changed the internet on us without us even realizing it. The internet is not the same that it was 10 years ago. And if you're going to be searching anything, the term, Google it, doesn't exist anymore. Google has changed too. You're no longer able to get the type of search results that you once used to get. Searching on Google used to be the most superior way to search in the world. It would bring up everything, and you would have pages and pages of search results to go through. And believe it or not, it wasn't very difficult to get to the stuff you were looking for and things of that nature. But now you have to use other search engines besides Google, because Google now is totally sold out to the system because it's part of the system. So anything that they don't like that goes against any one of their narratives, you're not going to get search results for it. Just like on YouTube. I double dare you to just type in flat earth on YouTube. You'll get like 10,000 videos all debunking it. You will not get one video that is a clear, scientific, cohesive plan. You won't get that. They have scrubbed everything of value off of social media. Try to Google a lot of videos. They're gone. Some of the best documentaries I've ever seen in my life, no longer available on YouTube. sorry, the video's been deleted, or the channel's been deleted, or the individual who made the channel has been deleted in some cases. And no, I'm not being funny. There are some YouTubers that are no longer with us today physically. And they were some of the most extraordinary truther researchers of our time, of our generation. One of my most favorite, never got a chance to meet him, was Sacromaniac. Some of you probably remember him if you've been around for a minute. One of the best researchers on YouTube. He was the first, and I mean the first, to break down and present tangible paperwork on the whole FEMA camp thing and those coffins that they had down in Georgia. Yeah, he pulled up patents and everything, proving all the stuff at that time that was going on. Even the whole microchip thing, when no one even knew what that was, even really heard about it. He found patents and stuff for that too and broke that down. Incredible dude. Very much missed. He passed away some time ago. I forget which cancer he had, but I know he was terminal, didn't have long to go, and then he had passed. So again, we've had a lot of great researchers on YouTube, like the great late Charlie McGrath. He was another one. Awesome stuff. Okay. Yeah, you're right about that, Mike. You're right about that. Okay, so let's look at. We're gonna flip the script. We're gonna look at now consequences. We're gonna look at economic consequences. That's the theme for this week. Economic consequences. All right. Economic consequences. And we're going to look at the markets. We're going to look at all these things. Some cycles persist and they go in 360-degree circles. They come and then they go and then they come back around again. And that's kind of what we're seeing here today. We're seeing things come back around. What do I mean? Whenever there's a real economic disaster, it ruins people's ideology and it changes them forever. Let's travel back in time. We're now in the year 1929, October of 1929 to be exact. The stock market has crashed. People's hopes and dreams for the future has crashed with it. The 1929 market crash did not start the Great Depression. The government, along with the Federal Reserve, did. And what happened as a result of the Great Depression, on the other side of the Great Depression, coming out of the Great Depression, it made people change their ideas about money. Wealthy people had their ideologies forever changed. Poor people who survived had their ideologies changed. And what we did as a result of that, we created a generation of misers. All right. I know for a fact and have known people from that time period who were some of the most stingiest, tightest people you ever wanted to meet. All right. I can literally say, I know Mr. Krabs. I met Mr. Krabs. All right. The real life Mr. Krabs. I can say, I know the real life Scrooge McDuck and the Mr. Krabs. All right. They will squeeze juice out of a penny. Yo, man, what's that juice that you drinking, man? Well, let me have some of that. And then they let you taste it. You be like, what kind of juice is that? Oh, that's penny juice. Penny juice? I never heard of that. Yeah, what you do is you get a whole roll of pennies, right? And you squeeze them joints. And what people don't know is that, pennies got juice in them. If you squeeze them enough and tight enough and long enough, juice will come out of that. It's the most incredible juice you ever tasted. Yes, these dudes are tight. Won't buy nothing. I've known some Scrooge McDucks and some Mr. Krabs that they refuse to own anything. They would refuse to buy dishes and silverware. They ate off paper plates and plastic forks. They rented their vehicles. They rented apartments instead of buying a house. And yes, when I say Scrooge McDuck and Mr. Krabs, I mean some of these people were very, very wealthy and well off. But they lived as if they were the poorest person in the poorest ghetto in the world. That's how they lived. And I'm not stretching it, not even a little bit. And you'd be like, why are you like that? And they would tell you, well, you know, see, during the Depression, young man, we didn't have much. You know, we ate, if we were lucky, you know, a couple times a week. And when they tell you what they went through during the Great Depression, you begin to appreciate what they're telling you. And they're like, that's why you need to save as much as you can, young man. You got to save for a rainy day. You just don't know. And so that generation basically is the precursor to our generation of preppers. Prepping really came out of necessity because those individuals listened to their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents tell them stories about struggle. And so they figured, hey, maybe I'll become that too. So some people prep because they're wise. Other people prep out of necessity. So I think we need to really start to understand and investigate the mindset that certain economic events create unintended consequences. So you got your misers coming out of the Depression. And then after that, you have, and it's funny because it all comes around these economic cycles and or market crashes. 1987, the world was close to the edge again of absolute collapse. They made their way out of it. But some people, not a lot of people, but some people started to curb their spending habits a little bit. You know, that happened during the yuppie generation. But that really didn't get anyone's attention because the day was saved, because at the end of the day they balanced the books. So that they dodged the bullet there. But they didn't dodge 2000, the bursting of the NASDAQ bubble. When the NASDAQ bubble bursted, you had people screaming, I'm an idiot. I didn't know what I was getting involved in. I didn't know you could lose money in buying stocks. I didn't know. I didn't know. That's all you kept hearing. I didn't know. I'm an innocent sheeple. You don't expect a sheep to know anything. I was taken advantage of. I didn't know. So after that, right during that period, not only did it turn people off to the internet, seriously, it turned people off to the internet, but it also turned people off to the markets. People were disgusted with the markets after that. We have still not brought back the majority of those peoples from that market situation. They are still out of the market to this day. They don't even talk about or think about stocks. A lot of them lost their life savings or they lost their inheritance. All right. So you have this cycle. Then, not even a year later, basically, we had 9/11. 9/11 had everybody shook, including yours truly. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was a terrorist attack. Remember, I wasn't awake, not like that. I knew markets, but not like that. That was a whole different ball game. And after that, what that did was the opposite. Instead of, people being like, oh, the markets aren't safe, because they blamed it on the boogeyman, and they started blaring all types of patriotic propaganda, it made people want to come back into the markets who had got hurt just a year prior, right? And they said, if you're an American, if you're pro-American, if you're a real American, then you're gonna buy American, and that always led back round to buying stocks. So that people bought into that. So they bought it. But you still had a majority of people that came out of that .com situation and lost everything. So that went on for a while. Then the 2008 financial crisis happened. Some of the people who had came back into the market after the NASDAQ bubble burst and the internet thing craze blew up, they came back into the market only to get blown up again in 2008. So now you've lost for good the people that came back from the tech bubble. All right. So now that whole generation that got hurt in 2000, got hurt real bad, who came back into the market for patriotic reasons after 9/11, got burned to a crisp in 2008. Just decimated. Many of which never came back. They still never came back from that. And now here we are with another economic disaster coupled with a market disaster. And now the new generation, as well as some of the old generation, have been blown up yet again. Count these blow-ups, folks. 2000, 2008, and now 2020. It seems like almost like every 10 years, just about every decade, there is a blow-up or economic situation. Except for this time, though, it's different. I know everyone says that, but this time really is different because this one here is worse than all of those others that I named put together. If you take the 2000 bubble burst, you take the 2008 financial crisis, and put those together, and then look at today. Today is worse than both of those put together. And the ramifications of today is worse than both of those put together. Now, we've talked about it. Now it's time for me to prove it to you. I hope you're ready because it's going to get a little squarey. It's going to get a little scary. It's going to be scary. All right? So grab your mama or your daddy's hand if you have to, okay? All right? Grab your little teddy bear if you have to. Get ready. Because we're going in the deep end of the pool. No more wading in the water in the shallow end. Here we go. It's just over a year since 20 million Americans lost their jobs. We're going on a journey, okay? All right, this is notes from the future. All right, market insights from May 2021, remembering the end of the beginning of the end. This is going to really set the backdrop for what we're going to deal with this week. Sell in May? Oh, don't bother. You are already away. It's just over a year since 20 million Americans lost their jobs in a single month, and United Airlines failed 2 billion bond issues in the first week of May 2020 became the unstable pebble that triggered the most devastating landslide in financial market history. All around the globe, bond investors woke up to their doubts on just how much government QE programs, minuscule yields, and the value of their collateral of unproductive, obsolete economic assets could be. Equity holders caught the whiff of panic, figuring out rising PEs and a crashing global economy mean nothing, even if central banks were promising to intervene. Sovereign debt buyers went on immediate strike, citing concerns of debasement, inflation, and the implausible promise being made. The result was the most precipitous tumble in history. Everyone tried to exit the markets and discovered the truth. There are many ways to buy, but only one exit marked sell. Although the sell in May and go away crash was relatively short lived, it spelled the effective end of market driven capitalism as global central banks stepped in, managed key markets. That's when financial asset markets stopped and BlackRock and the others took over. To be fair, they've done a pretty good job at preserving notional stability under the notional oversight of the Fed, the BOE, and the fracturing ECB. Bond markets have reopened, and state mandated savings and massive tax hikes ensure there's plenty of real money behind them. Fears are easing, but will free markets and the invisible hand ever return? People are saying we needed a financial market reset. Perhaps that was it. There's talk of privatization of the state equity portfolios. The Wall Street Journal has a scoop this morning. Toyota has been inquiring about buying Tesla from Washington's portfolio, and there were rumors they'll go all the way to $18 a share. Did you guys pick up on that? Tesla trading below $18 a share. Wow. Of course, C-19 was the catalyst. Clearly, 18 months since the first cases, it still dominates life. Although it never proved as immediately deadly as feared and hospitals coped, it's proved impossible to tie down. We now know better. Testing in the early days would have given us the data to have mitigated lockdowns. And simple sampling random of populations right from the start to understand how deeply entrenched it had quickly become would have massively modified our approach. Flattening the curve lengthened C-19's duration, and some angry epidemiologists say that gave it the opportunity to explode as it swiftly mutates into many multiple forms. Like yearly flu, it remains one step ahead of the vaccinologist. There is limited immunity, and intervention and treatment innovations are only just ahead of the lasting organ and neurological. It's tragically causing in so many patients. The cost of care is a major drag on health programs. Though 2020 swift actions of governments and central banks around the globe to pump wages and loans into shuttered companies avoided utter economic destruction. But the picture out there remains dystopian. Mass unemployment caused by business retrenchment is the norm everywhere. The populations of many countries face an increasingly difficult search for anything other than basic food and water. Although the crash was sharp and short, it was followed by what felt like a whole series of destabilizing demand and supply shocks as the extent of the economic damage became evident. It felt like we were under economic siege even as the 2020 lockdowns were eased. There was nothing remotely like a V-shaped recovery. Some say we still have lower to go after global GDP crashed 8% in 2020. It will barely recover this year. Broken supply chains have proved stubbornly resistant to repair and replacement. Many just-in-time manufacturers across Europe and North America are still struggling to match previous production levels, while profit margins have been slashed. Few functioning companies are paying dividends. Earnings seldom surprise on the downside. Aviation remains grounded. Gatwick looks likely to remain an asylum center for years. On the back of soaring unemployment in 2020 and whole sectors of the workforce losing government furloughed status, consumer confidence remains chronically week, triggering massive ongoing demand shock ripples across the economy. More than two-thirds of British workers expect their take-home pay to fall again this year. Inflation has proved selective. The cost of new phones, computers, and other tech have gone through the roof. We're eating healthy, but the choice in supermarkets are limited. 20 pounds for a punnet of strawberries puts them out of reach of most. But the cost of staples have remained low. There are many delightful and nutritious ways to serve potatoes. Fortunately, Europe and the EU were quickly able to open borders to pickers. Food shortages in the US remain a problem, with states accusing each other of hoarding. Central banks are terrified that a recovery in demand will immediately trigger runaway inflation. We suspect the bank is managing unemployment and requesting even higher taxes to stifle demand and hold inflation at bay while keeping interest rates remain low. If rates rise now, we could suffer a further round of corporate defaults and bankruptcies, and markets would absolutely fracture. It's even worse in the US, where rates and dollar weakness is failing to boost the economy. While it's clearly losing the trade war with the resurgent China, the standoff between Washington, D.C. and California on the West Coast demands for immediate re-engagement has eased slightly, but the solidity of the union was tested. Business sentiment remains weak around the globe as the resource wars in Africa trigger new waves of refugees. The escalating tension in Asia following China's land and sea grabs, Trump's trade embargo, and China sanctions have ratcheted up protectionism. Negotiations with Europe on Brexit are ongoing, but with a very different tone as Germany and the North increasingly turn to the UK to help moderate the ongoing euro debt crisis. Ireland has wisely become less a critic and more a support. Aside from financing Europe, global financing has been decimated. Lower wages and the legal requirement to put money in government-run pension schemes has killed retail investment. The Chinese the Chinese nationalization of the Hong Kong banks has left the UK high street further denuded and further killed expectations of dividends paying for retirement. After Trump's overdose on a chloral bleach quinine cocktail, Pence's tenure as president was the shortest on record. President Cuomo is trying to reopen global trade, but the Chinese have made quite clear they will never trust the U.S. again. Their threat to dump U.S. treasuries threatens corporate collapse if rates rise and massive inflation if they don't. What's the good news? We haven't had the social collapse many began to fear during the summer of 2020, the rebirth of hippie communes around Europe and America, as many young people gave up looking for work and looked for life instead, has turned into one of the most positive factors. I even recognize the music. All right, you guys, this was a fictitious look into the future, looking back on 2020. Now, you heard a lot of key things in there that I've been warning about, but that was a lighthearted view. All right. Just to paint the backdrop of where we're going. All right. Now, peep this. This one is an interesting one because we got to keep in mind, folks, when I start talking about the market stuff, you got to remember everybody don't have the pulse waves. Only you guys have the pulse waves. Everybody else is on their own. All right. So they don't get it and they won't see it coming. All right. We're about to go down another drop. I hope you guys are holding on tight to the roller coaster bars. Please don't let those bars go. Please make sure your seat belts are strapped in, because this next drop is going to be a little. Another leg lower is coming, but what happens in 2021 will leave traders speechless. In a recent report by Nordea's Andreas Steno Larsen, the FX strategist, looks at the recent surge in stocks and rhetorically asks, "Happy days, right?" To which his response is that he is not so sure because it is really feasible to control profits. For those confused, since reality is now more absurd than the onion, the answer is no. Larson then looks at the by now infamous chart of collapsing earnings and warns that EPS may need to be revised down at least 40 to 50% year on year and a quarter from now. But it seems like most equity analysts have been sipping directly from the magic central bank spring, certainly less strong than what Elon Musk had the other day, as they look for a mere negative 20% EPS growth this year. To Larson, this is historically naive. Sorry, optimistic. Why? Because if expected earnings are slashed in the way that Nordea finds expects, forward PEs will either have to find bizarre new all-time highs, as 2020 is deemed an outlier, or else equities will have to give in again. Of course, we have observed in recent weeks, and as David Zervos made all too clear, Wall Street no longer cares about earnings or the economy, or frankly anything besides the Fed. Since there is a robust Fed liquidity backstop, and we do not know the depth of duration of the current economic downturn, spending any time looking at economic data releases or focusing on corporate earnings is a colossal waste of time. For economic data, the signal to noise ratio is essentially zero. And for corporate earnings, results are meaningless with regard to LT earnings potential. The item to focus on is the Fed and its direct support for the financial and non-financial IG corporate sectors. Well, as Paul Tudor Jones wrote in his latest market outlook, which has quickly been denounced by basement-dwelling members of Finwit who have never actually traded, but more than make up for this with a flood of vacuous opinions, due to its endorsement of gold and Bitcoin as the antidote to the monetary insanity that the Fed has unleashed. The depth and magnitude of the economic drop-off as a result of the coronavirus pandemic took modern monetary theory, or the direct monetization of massive fiscal spending, from the theoretical to practice without any debate. It has happened globally with such speed that even a market veteran like myself was left speechless. Just since February, a global total of $3.9 trillion, which is 6.6% of global GDP, has been magically created through quantitative easing. We are witnessing the great monetary inflation, an unprecedented expansion of every form of money, unlike anything the developed world has ever seen. For those that do not know who Paul Tudor Jones is, he is one of the turtles, one of Richard Dennis's turtles. And I must tell you, Mr. Paul Tudor Jones is also one of the world's renowned traders of all time. Matter of fact, his past interviews are considered classic collector's items. And unfortunately, he himself had an interview he did, I think it was with PBS or someone. He had it scrubbed off the entire internet because he was concerned that people would glean some insight from it. Remember what I told y'all last week? Ain't no real trader gonna give away his system, his methodologies like that. So he realized he made a mistake after the fact. And of course, he was unsuccessful. He was able to get it scrubbed off the internet, but people had already downloaded it. So it was already too late. And yes, I'm one of those people who actually have those interviews. No, but seriously, dude is a beast. His claim to fame was that he made a killing during the 1987 market crash by trading the S&P futures. Yes, indeedy. All right. So Paul Tudor Jones then spends much of the rest of his paper ruminating on whether a large monetary overhanging in the recovery phase will eventually stoke consumer price inflation, before concluding that it very well may, and is why the legendary hedge fund trader has now endorsed Bitcoin, as we described in a previous post. Wow. What does that tell you? Paul Tudor Jones, the billionaire trader, is endorsing some Bitcoin? What you say about that? So that should make people wake up. All right. You got to wake up, man. All right. Because what you are seeing before your eyes is unprecedented. The reason why this time is different is because our world is different. You can only say this time is different if the world is different. If the world is the same, then this time would not be different. But this time is different because of a multitude of issues. First of all, the last situation we had was a result of a paper mortgage crisis. This is not an a paper crisis. This is not a mortgage crisis. This is a much bigger issue crisis. And guess what it brings? Are you ready? Here we go. Peasants. Soviet-style government in the U.S. Some will always bow in enslavement. It doesn't seem to matter how tyrannical the powers that shouldn't be get. Some people in the face of freedom will always choose slavery and the illusion of safety. It's sad to think human beings are willing to live their lives in such a perpetual state of fear that they end up giving up their birthright to masters. In an article titled "Coronavirus Has Proven Some in the U.S. Like Soviet-Style Governance" by the Washington Times. Much nicer terms are used than slavery, but Soviet-style governance is the very definition of slavery. A lot of humans around the globe have opened their eyes to what government has always been: power consolidated and corrupted. After all, it only took 6 years for the U.S. government to violate the basic human rights listed in the Constitution that they wrote to keep us safe from them. Yet some think they need more chains and restrictions. If you give up power in any amount, don't expect to get it back ever. Which is why we could be seeing the beginning of the end of government. It won't take many more to wake up to eliminate the ruling class by disobeying. I've been doing my best to not give in to the fear. Freedom is far too important to give in to the ruling class. Insistence that I live my life afraid of others and some virus that they continually lie about. At the same time, information needs to get out. People need to be informed, and some things are going to come across as negative. The intention is to make sure we all know what's going on so preparations can be made and we can stand up to this before it's too late. No matter what, someone will be offended or upset, but as I said before, the truth doesn't care about your feelings. Others, however, are too happy to take the side of tyranny. Maybe they think they are good little slaves and obey the master. The virus can't get them. Maybe they actually believe they, authorities, care about them. But they are falling quickly into the minority. And for that, we can all be grateful. Okay? Let's see. See a restaurant at full capacity, businesses open that shouldn't be. Help us save lives. If you see violations of Governor Abbott's order, please report them. And then it gives a thing of where to do that. That is messed up. The truth is that we must take power back from anyone who has it and never give it away. Never be under any illusions again. That means once power is ours, we don't allow another person to control us. Ever. And yes, that goes for cops and the military, all the way up to the globalists who are pulling the strings. While it's true that some people will always bow when commanded and always follow orders, most have actually gotten up off their knees and realized this world has a control structure in place designed to keep them complacent. When we stand together against the order, followers, it's becoming apparent that we outnumber them by a good amount, and we can end this slavery for good. You cannot hold down something that has always meant to be free forever. The most you can do is create fear and use psyops to enslave minds. Those who are free will always be because their minds belong to themselves, and that's what the establishment and the elite globalists fear the most. While the Washington Times is correct that the coronavirus has proven some in the US like Soviet style governance, the coronavirus scamdemic has also proven that a lot of people will not be enslaved and will live their lives freely as the sovereign beings they were always meant to be. Wow, wow, wow. Don't you see, ladies and gentlemen, the masses are waking up. People are becoming enlightened. They're starting to question more. All right. That's what adults do. Children are told to go sit down and shut up. Adults need to question more. How are you going to let another adult tell you to sit down and shut up? You grown. You're a grown man. You're a grown woman. How are you going to let another adult tell you to sit down and shut up? They don't have no authority over you. All right. They don't have no authority over you. But some people are actually doing it. Some people actually like it. They like being told what to do, what to think, and how to do it. They don't like being adults. Okay? That's what happens. And it's really sad that this is where we are, folks. The enslavement has already started, you know? And we need to deal with it. All right, now I'm going to show you something that was given to me, and it's pretty bad. I'm hoping that this is not real, because if it is, ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. All right, let's pull it up, and then we're going to go there. Yep, we don't have a choice. We need to go there. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but here it is. State of California, Health and Human Services Agency, Department of Social Services, 744 P Street, Sacramento, California, 95814. Dated May the 6th of 2020. Let's hope that this is not real. Because if it's real, it's coming to a location near you. As a participant in state assistance benefits, including Cash Aid, CalFresh, and Cal Medi-Cal, and in accordance with the State of California Emergency Order numbers 3.21.20-EO-N-35-20 and N-25-20, you're being informed that COVID-19 testing is declared mandatory for all members of your household receiving assistance. You may receive the test free of charge at any of the participating sites in Merced County, California. Please refer to the attached pamphlet for testing sites and information related to COVID-19 testing. Appointments are required for testing. You can register online at https://www.ihi.care/COVID testing, or by calling the 1-888-634-1123 phone number. Tests will be performed Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Failure to obtain a test by June the 1st of 2020 will result in the temporary suspension of your benefits beginning July the 1st of 2020 and continue until such time that testing has been completed. All right, you guys, here we go. In addition, should you test positive for COVID-19, should you test positive for COVID-19 and in compliance with the State of California Welfare and Institutions Code, the Human Service Agency of Merced County may deem it necessary to remove all of your children under the age of 18 from your household who have tested negative and place them in temporary foster care until such time that you have been determined to be recovered. Please feel free to contact your caseworker with any questions you have regarding this notice. Yo, please tell me this ain't real. Somebody, anybody, tell me this is a lie. Tell me this is fake. Tell me this is a Photoshop. Tell me something. Can somebody look up the codes I gave you? The California emergency order numbers. Are y'all familiar? My Californians, are y'all in the house? Please tell me this ain't real. So now mandatory testing and Child Protective Services is coming up to take your children if you test positive. So they're going to make you take the test, then snatch your children until they feel that you're ready to get them back. Do you know what happens when CPS takes your children? Do you know it takes an act of God for you to get your children back? I'm telling you that right now. It takes an act of God to get your children back. Because you ain't gonna. It's not just gonna be, oh well, okay, they tested, they're negative now. The kids can go back. Oh no, now they're gonna do a full investigation, and if they don't like what they see, especially if you're poor, don't be poor. Oh, don't be poor, dirt poor. Oh, don't be, because they're coming in and they're gonna look at your home. They're gonna call you in for meetings. They're gonna talk to your children. You ain't getting your kids back. Chances are you ain't getting your kids back. Just so you know that. They're snatching them up. And CPS has already been in the news forever, going back decades. You can search that on your own, of being involved with child trafficking, child sex trafficking. Yeah, it's not a coincidence that hundreds of cases of children that got into the system found their way into child sex trafficking. That's already been exposed going back decades. I remember one case where a judge was involved and he was getting broke off for sending these kids to this work farm back in the day. All right. Man, this is crazy, y'all. I can't believe this, man. Please tell me this is not true. Please tell me this is not true. Please tell me this ain't true. This is crazy. How do you say it's cray. Yo, man. I'm just saying though. Wow. All right, so let's go deeper down the rabbit hole then. I warned you guys that this ride was going to be rough. Okay. All right, let me put that there. Okay. What if the crisis is one without end, like George Orwell's Perpetual War? Notions of freedom. We're living in strange times indeed. This crisis raises many questions about the nature of freedom and what our expectations are or should be. Everyone has their own notions about what freedom means and how far that should extend to oneself and indeed to everyone else. I want to start with a look at where we've come from before I look at where we are now, as I feel it gives a better understanding of our definitions of freedom and a better context for viewing where we are at this moment in time. Society probably started with the tribe, maybe not even having a leader. If the numbers were small enough, say 10 people, tribes of scores or more obviously became hard to manage, and so undoubtedly this led to the idea of a leader or a group of leaders, a chief or a council of chiefs. Such a system seems to have worked well, so long as the chiefs acted in the best interest of the tribe and not in their own best interests. Tribes in early kingdoms often had a mechanism for dealing with a poor leader, the symbolic marriage of the leader to the land and the right to depose or even execute a leader that failed to live up to their expectations. Such concepts of leadership are ancient and have survived in various places into the modern era, including Ireland, where this writer lives. Although the practice associated with this custom is long gone, knowledge of it remains vaguely in the public consciousness and more definitively in the realms of scholarship and Celtic neo paganism. However, societies across the globe began to move beyond this cherished accountability millennia ago. With the rise of despotic monarchy, something that still exists as an unfortunate uh, anachronism even now. As tribes grew into countries and countries grew into empires, monarchs became decreasingly accountable to their citizens, or rather subjects. Those who are subjugated, while many monarchs felt an obligation, both divine and moral, to behave with care and responsibility, others acted in pure self interest, free of any accountability for their actions, with the backing of a large army or a sizable personal guard. It became increasingly difficult to hold monarchs accountable, and one had to rely on goodwill in most cases rather than enforcement. So, yeah, the king started surrounding himself with an army or a large, personal guard, and that's very true. Of course, there have been countless deposings of monarchs by the people or by rival claimants, although the latter didn't always turn out to be beneficial. Probably the most famous of these is that of uh, Gallus Julius Caesar, the dictator for life of the final years of the Roman Republic, who gave his name to the title Caesar, Czar and Kaiser. He was brutally murdered by Brutus, hence the word brutal, and we all know how that turned out for the Roman Republic. The Republic itself was a form of democracy based on an earlier model from Greece, a civilization that had immense influence on Rome. Of course, Athenian democracy was nothing like what we have now regarded as democracy. The right to decide how government was organized and what it did fell to the hands of an elite group, or uh, I think it's pronounced democratia, or rule by the people, was only for citizens of these. Only the men could vote. At the time, 507 BC, this meant 40,000 men out of a much larger population. but in reality, no more than about 5,000 men could attend assemblies due to other commitments. Still, it was a groundbreaking step so long as you weren't a foreigner, a criminal, a woman, a child, or a slave. It is from these Greek origins that we get the word democracy and the notion of rights and freedom for all. Over time, there have been variations of this model that have been tried out: constitutional monarchies, republics, socialist states, fascist states, and communist states, which have varying levels of input for the masses. The masses might also be referred to as plebeians, as the Romans like to call ordinary folk, a corrupted form of which still exists as a minor insult, pleb. However, though through most of recorded history, the most common system has been monarchy, although one could hardly describe it as the most popular. Simpler than a democracy and easy to enforce, notions such as corruption, fairness, accountability do not come into play, as divine rule, the divine right of kings, gives the ruler carte blanche to do whatever they want, unless their dep- despotism provokes a revolt. Of course, revolt has happened from time to time throughout history, and one of the most famous ones is that of the barons of England against King John. You can't forget French. They're the ones that coined that phrase "off with their heads." All right, the French will revolt at the drop of a hat. You don't want to go there. You got to put that in there too, man. You got to put that in there. The Magna Carta, great charter of 1215, is considered by many as the bedrock of Western civilization and democracy, despite the fact that it only gave limited concessions to a very small number of nobles. It was a start, at least, and perhaps enabled further inroads into the monarchic monopoly of power. The Peasants' Revolt of 1381 against Richard II of England was a major shift. Led by a commoner, Wat Tyler, it was a great embarrassment for Richard, who did not have a standing army on hand. He was forced to pretend to negotiate with the rebels who camped at Blackheath, while he secretly ordered the mayor of London to raise an army to disperse and execute the protesters. Like I always said, people, guys, people in power tend to want to stay in power. There are countless other examples of rebellion against monarchs across the world, but most of them are forgotten. Perhaps the best remembered rebellion is that of the French paupers against the Bourbon monarchy and the entire aristocracy of France. Okay, you finally went there. I was wondering how you were going to lead that one out. This violent and bloodthirsty revolution sent shudders of terror across the monarchies of the world and precipitated a program of reform based on fear of similar events occurring. Yeah, that France one, man, is probably the most notable, man. They don't they don't play that over there. Of course, some countries carried on regardless. Russia and America being particularly sad examples, as Russia only abolished serfdom in 1861, while USA only abolished slavery in 1865. Excuse me. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know Russia abolished serfdom around the same time as America abolished slavery. Wow, interesting. One could justifiably say that the lives of these ordinary people who were now citizens hardly improved, as their freedom was pretty much nominal. This in Russia led to the revolution of 1917 due to the excuse me, into the intransience of the Tsar Nicholas II, Alexandrovich Romanov II. The overthrow of the Russian system, inspired by the ideas of Marx and Engels, led to a Bolshevik government headed by Vladimir Lenin. Whatever notions the Soviets had, Lenin was a de facto czar in waiting, and Stalin was certainly that, if not an uncrowned heir to Ivan the Terrible. Post-World War II, we supposedly have a new age of democracy and freedom, but that only applies to some. In truth, almost the whole world collection of governments has learned the art of propaganda thanks to the astounding upskilling efforts of the National Socialist Nazis of Germany, who took this to new heights, or lows rather, turning it almost into an art form. While we have been led to believe that we are free and democratic, we have never been more exposed to lies and propaganda than we are now. The biggest lie of all is that we live in a democracy when in fact we actually only get to choose a new set of corrupt and self-serving narcissists every 4 or 5 years. Democracies the world over have been bought. Lobbyists have far more power than the electorate could ever hope to achieve. What we in fact have is the illusion of democracy. State agencies act without oversight. Individuals have no say over the manifesto, and policies of parties in power have no mechanism to undo or prevent undesirable actions by government. The only mechanisms available are the occasional referenda instigated under pressure, protests, peaceful or otherwise, and violent overthrow. And those are facts. Does this ring a bell to you guys? Nancy Pelosi saying, if you want to know what's in the bill, you got to vote for it first. Come on, man. Where in reality does that make any sense? Doesn't make any sense. In most cases, the effort and risk of violent overthrow is considered too much for the majority of people. It takes dire poverty, starvation, and horrific coercion before the plebs are pushed to the brink. Governments are aware of this and generally apply the boiling frog method of restricting people's freedoms and the removal of privacy and general rights. However, they do on occasion overstep the mark or fail to adequately conceal their stealthily nefarious actions, which inevitably leads to protest or insurrection. History has proven that violent insurrection usually fails, but it is rather foolish of authoritarian governments to take a gamble on this not happening. What is far more effective for us plebs is non-violent insurrection in the form of non-compliance. This worked wonders for both Gandhi and for Martin Luther King, two of the most inspirational leaders of the 20th century. Nelson Mandela is another fine example of someone who led a monumental change in South Africa while also avoiding a catastrophic bloodbath, again through advocating of nonviolence and showing exceptional leadership skills. Sorry, I have to take issue with that. That entire paragraph is 100% wrong answer. Let's rewind, shall we? You're using Gandhi as an example. And then you went from him to Martin Luther King. Have you forgotten Martin Luther King was assassinated? So no, that did not work well for him. No, it didn't work. See, people in power tend to want to remain in power. Therefore, you took a pacifist and someone who was non-pacifist, and you assassinated both of them. America said they don't care. They don't care if Martin Luther King is the second Gandhi. They say he got to go. He's in the way. He got to go. As for Malcolm X, they said, you know what? He advocates violence for violence. But guess what? He's in the way and he got to go. So using those two guys as an example is not a good one. It did not end well for them. Then you want to go mention Nelson Mandela? Are you serious? His whole facade has been made up. He is not the man you think he is or was. Are you kidding me? Him and his wife, you don't know that Nelson Mandela was part of the Brotherhood, part of the Boule? You don't know? You don't. He's an illuminist, man. You better do your research. A movie was made out about dude and his wife. What are you talking about? You didn't see the movie? Please. At this moment in time, we are held hostage by a virus and the fear of what it might do to humanity. While public safety has to be a priority, one has to ask the question, what is this really about? Is this a manufactured crisis? Yes. Or is it just opportunistic governments? Yes. Capitalizing on their best chance to roll out new draconian measures? Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. Temporary emergency powers is one thing, but if there's no rollback after the crisis is over, what then? What if the crisis is one without end, like George Orwell's Perpetual War in his novel 1984? Yes, to that too. We have come to expect freedom. We are told that we live in the free world. Yet we see our rights and freedoms and privacy being eroded by government legislation, corporate invasive technology, and data collection. Where do we draw the line? You can't. When do we say enough is enough? You can't. Strangely, the same technology that enables our surveillance monitoring is also the most powerful tool at our disposal. Not anymore. Internet and telecommunications enables us to share information. Not anymore. Just as the system collects information about all of us. For many, it has opened our eyes about government agendas, methods, and operations as we now have unprecedented access to worldwide information. No, you don't. Often in real time. No, you don't. Or within minutes and hours of events happening. Not necessarily. Many believe that a new era of oppression is being rolled out. Yes, it is. Right now, as we sit in our homes, enabled by the high power, high speed, and low latency 5G network. Exactly. Worldwide by a hidden agency. Correct. Conspiracies aside, there are many questions to be asked about our rights, what our freedoms should consist of, and what the limits of government and corporate action should be. We need to ask those questions. We need to demand answers and show the powers that be that the thirst for true democracy is still alive and kicking. If we volunteer to be imprisoned or to become our own jailers, then there is no hope for humanity. As in the past, humanity needs to assert itself in order to remain free of despotism, and it has never been more urgent than now. Corny as it may be, the simplest way to express this is for me to repeat the words of the late Bob Marley. Get up, stand up for your rights. It did not work for him either. He also, too, was assassinated. I get where the article was going, and it was a nice article, but again, I have to differ with you on the civil rights aspect approach that you brought up, and I have to take issue with the ending when you quoted Bob Marley. Again, you quoted another nonviolent leader who was assassinated. So I think that the writer is not familiar with American history, so let me give you a primer. You see, COINTELPRO is still alive and well today. They have already let it be known, going all the way back to the 60s, that they will never, ever, ever, and I mean ever, let another quote unquote black leader emerge. It will never happen. It will never, listen to me, it will never happen. Never. Every would-be black person who wants to stand up and be the next Martin Luther the King, or Malcolm X, or Medgar Evers, fill in the blank, they will get their heads taken off, and they all know it. That's why it will never happen. It will never happen. There's too much power already given to the government. The government has so many tools at their disposal. How many would-be whistleblowers have been demonized in the mainstream media to the point where their message has been overshadowed by the defamation of their character by the mainstream media? Hey, the American people need to know what's happening. And then what do? They use their most powerful weapon. Does anyone know, class, by the show of hands, does anyone know what the United States' most powerful weapon is? Does anyone know? It is the most powerful weapon on the planet, as a matter of fact. The U.S. controls and has created the most powerful military weapon ever created and known to man. Does anyone in the class know the answer to that question? Show of hands. Nobody knows? I know someone's probably thinking, oh, I know, it's a little boy and fat boy, whatever it is, the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombs, the nukes. The nukes are the most powerful. Wrong answer. Who else? Oh, the new AR-15s? Nope. Plastic explosives? Nope. Wrong. Biological warfare weapons? Nope. DARPA? Nope. Next. Social justice warriors? You're on the right track, but media, Scott, you got it. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. Tell Scott what he's won. A lifetime supply of toothpaste. All right, so yes, to be quiet, yes, the mainstream media is the U.S.'s most effective warfare weapon. It is the most powerful weapon in the world. It has been unleashed on the American people an infinite amount of times over the past several decades. Give you a few examples. Here's what they do. Say my man PreMarket in the live chat was a whistleblower. He had a high security clearance working for let's say the Department of Defense. And let's say he had his hands on some information, some knowledge that if the American people knew, they would revolt immediately. And there'll be chaos in the streets, right? And my man PreMarket puts up a YouTube video saying, check out this proof. Check it out. Look at this video I got for you. You get to hear these briefings from the Pentagon closed to the public. And in the meetings, there's all these world leaders, and then this person comes out, or what looks like some short person, and it's not a short person, it's a gray alien. And the gray alien is talking, and he's sitting at the head of the table, and he's saying, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to this meeting. And here we want to go over our next PSYOP operation. And the people are just blown away. This is a video. It's not Photoshop. It's authentic. And it's blowing people away. Here's what will happen. As soon as that video goes viral, which it would, mainstream media will come out. This video is going viral, but experts say it is very shoddy CGI work, but very creative, though. You would hear that phrase parroted for 24 hours straight on every news network, every TV channel, CNN, every radio station, every talk radio station, every newspaper, nonstop. You would hear that phrase. Then they would say, who is this whistleblower? They would create a persona for you, even though none of it is real. Here's what they would do. They would bring out, if you're a man, since my man PreMarket is, they would bring out women who say that they were sexually assaulted by you on the job. They would be crying in the interview. They would say, yes, he was sexually inappropriate with me. When did this happen? Oh, this happened about 36 years ago. Where did it happen? I don't remember. I think it was either in a bar or a bathroom or my bedroom or his bedroom or France or Germany, or it was in California. And then they would bring more women up. They would just parade woman after woman after woman, get you caught up in legal issues. Now you got to go to court. Then they would also say that the government's pressing charges for you leaking sensitive information and how you are such lower than dirt because you snitched. How could you? You broke your agreement with the government. So now they want to prosecute you for criminal liability. Then these women are also pressing charges saying you basically raped every single last one of them. Then they would create another thing for you. And they would, by the time they're done with you, America not only wouldn't trust anything that you say, but they would no longer believe your viral video. It would be debunked. Other people would be debunking it. They would have an official debunking government video. President of the United States will come out and speak out against you. You know he doesn't have a filter, so he would be like, "Yeah, that clown, man. We don't care about that clown. Oh, these fake videos, this fake news." Yeah, in a week, everyone would forget about the video that you uploaded. That's what they would do. That's how powerful our media is. Our media right now. Yeah, I knew that. That's why I went there. I went there for a reason. I kind of figured that. But it doesn't have to be true though. See what I'm saying? They would still push it. They don't care. They don't care. I wasn't even born yet. Stop lying. We have a birth certificate right here for you, saying that you're like, 15 years older than what you really are. They would create such an evil persona. People would think that you were Lex Luthor during the daytime and the Joker at night. They would think you love to eat children and that you're part troll. As a matter of fact, they would say, breaking news, we have found the troll under the bridge. In the story, The Three Billy Goats Gruff. Come to find out, this is a real story based on a real person. His name is Cramerica. Cramerica is the troll under the bridge that liked to eat children and billy goats. And then they would have all these scientists and psychiatrists doing live interviews with all the anchors at the news stations. Yes, it is true. We have scientific evidence and DNA mapping technology that shows that Cramerica actually is the troll. And we have forensic evidence. We're going to do a special tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to take our forensics experts out into the field. We're going to go under the bridge to where the Billy Goat used to live, and we're going to show you how it was definitely him eating all these children and all the Billy Goats gruff when they came across the bridge. Yes, he is the Billy Goat. And we have further news that's just coming in right now. Scientists located at the FDA has also learned that not only is he the Billy Goat that ate the Billy Goat's gruff and ate all the children, but that we also have now scientific proof, and we have an expert that's going to come on a panel of experts. They're going to show that he is actually also the Chupacabra. Yes, he's the Chupacabra, and he's also Bigfoot. So we know the truth now about Bigfoot and the Chupacabras, and it's him. He's the one in the woods, all the missing 411. He's responsible for all of that. He's been eating children since time immemorial, and we're going to prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. Oh, and by the way, his video is fake news. That's what they would do to you. You guys think I'm playing? By the time they're done with you, the whole world would hate you. They would despise you. You wouldn't be able to show your face in public. You have to wear a V for Vendetta mask every time you leave the house. Straight up. That's the power of our mainstream media in the United States. Okay. Oh yeah, my mama used to read that story to me every day, every night. That's right. That was my story too, because we had the encyclopedias that had the pictures in there, but to go with the story, it was awesome. So Yeah, that's what they would do to you, man. They would blow you up in the media. The world would hate you. They would say that you are a pedophile, you're a womanizer, you eat children, you live under a bridge, and you're responsible for every missing person in the 411 missing 411 series. They would say, yes, we have cracked the case. He is guilty. Yep. And they would prove it, and people would literally believe it. You be like, man, that's too much, man. You bugging. Nobody would believe any of that. Really? Ask Bill Cosby if that's true or not. Go ahead, try it. Go ahead and try it. Try it. So we live in a time where truth is whatever the powers that be say it is. All right. And that is a sad fact and a sad truth. This is where we are, you guys. Last week, we dealt with the coronavirus. This week, we're dealing with the effects of the economy and the markets, because these are the consequences of what has been done. This is what's going to happen on the back of that. The world governments are going to seize more power, all right? More power. And you are going to lose more rights, all right? That is where we are. Now, I had to take time and give it to you. And I had to show you, where we've been and where we are headed. So tomorrow, stay tuned for tomorrow morning, where we're going to go into some other situations. We're going to look at some other things. I'm taking you into a nice long primer of where we are. All right. And yes, I do believe in my soul, in my gut, that we have not seen the bottom in equity markets, and I am biding my time. I'm waiting to see what happens, because at the end of the day, I do believe we are on the cusp, on the verge of something huge, something enormous. I told you, I believe we're going to see very big moves in the market. Don't have all the information as the how and the what and what the motivation's going to be. I just know that it's coming. And no one's playing with us. They don't care. They've already showed you they don't care. They could give a darn about any of that stuff. And that's just what it is. So you got to be ready, man. You got to be ready. You got to know that I told you they're coming for your jobs. They're coming for everything. They're coming for your freedom. They want it all, man. They're not even playing around anymore. They want it all. They want you to know that you are their slave and you will do as you're told. All right? That's what they want out of you. Compliance. They want you to sit down and shut up. Shut it up. Don't want to hear from you. You don't have any questions. You want to ask your government questions? Keep this in mind. There's no questions in God. You don't question God. And we're doing God's work. So you don't question God. Sit down and shut up. All right? With that being said, I'm about to hit the lab. I'm working on some things for you guys in the trading room. So right now I'm flat. I don't have any working orders, but Lord willing, if I can get my work done today at a reasonable time, then I can put together a grocery list and I'll let you guys know what I'm doing, what I'm up to today. All right, so that's all I got for now, folks. Just wanted to start the week off, let you know what our goal is going to be for the week. We're dealing with the consequences of shutting down the global economy. And I'm breaking you guys off some knowledge that you're not going to hear nowhere else, because that's what it's about at the end of the day, man. All right, so remember, PulseWaveTrading.com. You guys need to come get yourself a six-pack. You know you're thirsty. You know you are parched financially. And even if you're not, you need to still come do this, because if you lose your job for no reason of your own, no fault, no reason of your own, you want to have that secondary backup income. All right. So please, please, PulseWaveTrading.com. And remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And I am out. Peace.